So in this video I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this SM124 monitor, and I want to give you a kind of a look at the condition it's in. I haven't cleaned it up. I have looked enough to believe it didn't sit in water. It's just sat on something where it's fallen all over it. The screen is filthy. The case in general is in pretty good shape. There's a couple of chips in it. There's a little one up here. It's just really dirty. Video cable's dirty. The back seems clean overall. I'm thinking I'm going to violate my rule here, and I'm just going to power it up and we'll see what we get. And I guess if I get smoke and fire, it's my own fault for not looking inside. So let me get the camera in the mount and we'll have a play. So as a bit of a safety precaution as we move into this, I do not have the video cable plugged into the Atari ST. If this thing fails spectacularly and throws 120 volts out this cable or something, I don't want my ST exploding. I would like to see it power up and generate a raster on the screen really before I hook it up. I have no idea if it's going to even turn on. The power on LED is sitting down here. It is plugged in. Well, there's the first good sign. We know there's at least a power supply attempting to work. I'm going to tweak on the brightness and contrast here and see if I can get a raster. And so far I'm not, which I don't see as a positive sign. Doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. So I'm going to leave the contrast and brightness centered. I'm going to turn the power back off. These pots need to be cleaned. Power's off. I'm going to go ahead and plug the video in back here. Bring the power back on. Give it a second to warm up. And we'll see if there's any shot of it producing video at all. And there is. As you can see, it's trying. It's not particularly happy. It obviously needs the sizing adjusted, horizontal and vertical sizing adjusted. Oh, turned it off. So the brightness reacts. Actually, that's probably brightness there versus contrast. It's actually got a really nice sharp picture. I'm not sure what that glitching is. That could well be a capacitor right on the verge of failing. And it just failed. So something warmed up and failed. So it's got a thermal issue, I do believe. It's getting little bits of video. Let me turn the power off and let it cool for a second. This could be as simple as dirty pots causing that. It could be a electrolytic capacitor failing. It could be a semiconductor getting hot. All kinds of things this could be, from mechanical to electrical. I'll bring the power back on. And we'll see if we get any kind of back where we were before. Yeah, I don't think this is potentiometers. Like I say, you saw bits and pieces of video flicker there. This could just be a bad cable. I'm gonna move the video cable around underneath the power cable down here just to kind of take some stress off. And we'll try again. It would be nice if this is just a cabling issue. I'm much more happy now. Well, I don't know that it's cabling. Well, between this monochrome I'd forgotten how nice the monochrome picture on the ST was. Versus the color. I'm going to go ahead and change the version of TOS over to the later version. Well, I think with a good case cleaning, open this thing up, do some alignment on it. You know, that maybe the yoke has simply gotten rotated a bit, causing the picture to not be square. Well, I can see the video on when I look at the camera, the video on the camera is much worse than the video on the monitor. I'm seeing flickering, so the camera is capturing the raster effects here on the monitor. If you're seeing the flickering that I'm seeing on the LCD screen on the camera here, the monitor does not look like that. It's got a very nice solid white on black image. So this is just difference between shutter speed on the camera and the refresh on the monitor causing that flickering. This monitor literally come off of a junk pile. It was just about to be scrapped when I intercepted it. You know, if I hadn't spotted it, it probably would have been gone in the next day. Busted open, metals reclaimed, and just history. So, I do actually have a second SC1224 monitor that's a different case style than this, that I don't particularly like the case style on. This is the same monitor I had, you know, when I was a kid. So, well, at this point, I think I'm gonna call this video shot. Maybe I'll get you a bit of video after I get this thing cleaned up a bit. But anyhow, nice find. So I'm very pleased that it's come up, and now the video seems nice and solid. Again, I'm wondering if they'll have flicker. And the broken sink that was going on was, you know, the pots seem nice and clean. Anyhow, this is, I guess, just, you know, 6 minutes, almost 7 minutes of video here to look at a chance on powering up an uncleaned up monitor. Boy, that video looks really horrible on the camera LCD. I'll see what it looks like when I edit it. Anyhow, just a short video on an ST SM124 monitor, and we'll talk soon. So I took the monitor outside and took kind of a medium stiffness brush and brushed as much of the loose off. And as much as I hate using Windex because it's going to curl down under the CRT and get in this case, I'm just going to shoot the overall case with Windex. I find it works pretty well for just this kind of cleaning. And I'm just going to start to wipe as much of this off as I can. Just get as much of this. You can already see what's coming off the case here. As much of this just general yuck off of the monitor. You know, and already it's a huge improvement. Yeah, there's just lots of nastiness coming off. You know, just this initial wipe down is a huge improvement. When I get the plastics off to poke around inside, I'll at that point do a little bit better clean. But you can see just what this is pulled off after the brushing. I'm going to go over it again. Like I said, I find Windex works well for this. It doesn't attack the plastic. It knocks lots of stuff off. Sorry if I'm getting my arm in the way there. I'm just working my way around the case, trying to work back into all the crevices. I can see that when I get the monitor apart, I'm going to want to pull the knobs off the pots and clean those. At this point, I can handle the monitor and not feel like I'm becoming filthy doing so. Now there's a dead spider. I'll get him lifted out of there. There's another dead spider and another dead spider. Yeah, wherever this poor thing sat at one time, it collected dead spiders. Well, they probably weren't dead when they got onto it. So I can get that wipe off a little bit there. Oh, a whole little spider nest. It's just wonderful. So looking in from the bottom of the chassis, it doesn't look too bad. I'm not going to spray Windex directly on the bottom. It's full of vent holes. Looks like there might be a little bit of rust looking down into there, although it may not be rust. I am just going to, with some wet paper towel, kind of wipe around in here. So just make it a lot easier to handle. Other thing that's absolutely filthy on this monitor is the video cable. To tackle that, I'm going to soak down a paper towel. I'm going to drag it along the cable. You don't want to pull too hard here, but you want to pull firm enough that you get some scrubbing action. Especially up here around the connector, you don't want to pull so hard you break wires or make a few passes along the length of the cable, which is already looking much better. Probably see here what's coming off the cable. Looked like there was a hole in the cable, but it's just the outer insulation has been nicked. It didn't go all the way through into the shielding. And so I want to be a little bit careful here on the connector end. I don't want to get a lot of Windex down inside of there. At the same time, I do want to attempt to get this cleaned up a little bit better. It's pretty nasty. Oh, excuse me. So, you know, at this point, handling the monitor is Not nearly as nasty as it was, which is of course a good thing. Get it rotated back up here. And hopefully you've got a pretty good contrast for before and after, with just some paper towel and some Windex. And actually at this point it looks like you could use it and not be unhappy with it. So I will let the any Windex I missed evaporate off for a minute, and we'll open it up and see about taking a tweak inside. So I've gone ahead and taken the back off the monitor. I took a vacuum to the inside. I cleaned it up as well as I could. There's actually more rust in here than I expected. The top of the high voltage transformer is pretty rusty. I don't know that it's set in water, but there is a little bit of rust here. Underneath, it does look to me like it's been wet inside at one time, although I'm not sure. It looks like this may have set down in water. I may have been a bit foolish to just power it up without taking a look inside. But you know, it is what it is. Actually, that's not the high voltage over there. That's the mains transformer, I suspect. It was full of cobwebs. Little bits of nastiness everywhere. I vacuumed everything out as best I could. I don't really know if the corrosion I see here is just it's sitting in a wet environment like an outdoor barn, or you know, whatever. We've got the main power supply section over here, diode bridge. I'm assuming it's a filter cap, probably a voltage regulator. But you can see, like on the board here, it's pretty nasty. There's definitely been something go on in there. The yoke seems pretty solid to the neck of the tube. I'm not sure the proper way to align this. I suspect I can find the manual for this monitor on the web, or I can't find the manual for my 1224. Down in there might be the potentiometers I'm looking for to kind of tweak on video. So I've got V size, V hold, V linearity there. There's of course the video in. That's pretty nasty there. It's been wet. Focus. Don't see a label on that pot. Centering. That may be horizontal height there. I don't know. It's Gold Star monitor. It's got GS on the board. It's got Gold Star over here on the CRT. Little dirtier inside than I kind of thought. Although as filthy as the case is, there should be no surprise. I don't know if you can see the rust on this screw up here. That's completely corroded and nasty. There's hot snot holding some of those taller capacitors in place. I'm not seeing bulging caps. I'm not seeing evidence of leakage from capacitors onto the top side of the board. It's of course, being a monitor, a single-sided board. That maybe the back quarter of this set down in water at one time. Not seeing anything particularly nasty back here. There's that bodge resistor and capacitor there. You know, I'm not seeing evidence of traces being dissolved due to electrolytic leakage. May have just set in a wet environment, although again, that there looks like something was spilled inside. There's something all over the PCB there. Yeah, that's a 7812 voltage regulator. No surprise. anyhow, I'm going to go look for a manual and see if I can figure out how to adjust the video to get a little happier video signal. I'm going to take the back half of the case and give it a good washing. A little harder to do with the front of the case, so I won't have to pull the CRT out. And I'm assuming I should be able to get these knobs off pretty easily. And they can get their own cleaning. Those will get cleaned up separately so we can get down in the knurls and get all the nastiness out of there. You know, overall it's going to be a serviceable monitor. So, as I learn more about it, I'll get more video. So I've set the video or the background of the desktop to white so I can see the entire outline on the monitor. And again, I can see on the LCD on the camera that what I'm seeing is not really what you're seeing. I've looked at the service manual, and for the issue with the rotation, it is loosen the clamping screw. If I can get it to loosen, and of course I can't. I'll need to find an appropriate screwdriver to loosen that screw. I'm sure there's one floating around here. I've got the power off to the monitor because where that screw is pretty close to the yoke drive. I'll see if I can get down in that screw and loosen it, which I've done. We'll see now if I can rotate that image. Looks like I went a little bit too far. A little bit too far the other way. Really hard getting it perfect. That's pretty close. That looks pretty close for now. So I'm going to turn the power off, and I'm going to tighten back up the screw for the yoke. Doesn't need to be super tight, just enough to hold it in place. See if I'll be able to work this screwdriver down in there safely. I don't have the screwdriver I wanted to use for this. Yeah, I can get down into those pots. So let's bring the video back on, and of course the monitor is live when I'm doing this, so we need to be very careful while we're in there. I don't have the screwdriver I want to use. I do have this long screwdriver. It's of course conductive up here high, but when I'm working down the monitor, none of this is conductive. It's a flexible sleeve. And of course I've got a bit end down here. So the first thing I want to look at, let's see, vertical size and linear adjustment. The vertical size VR601 and VR602. So let me see if I can spot those down in there. There is some silk screen on the board. VR601 and 602. Let me get down into 601. Get down into 602. You can of course see now that now it's pretty square. With the screwdriver of course near the yoke, it affects the magnetic field, but that looks pretty square. Let me come back around to 601. A non-metallic screwdriver would be better for this. I'm just trying to get this centered. So that's a little better. So horizontal size and linear adjustment, 703. So let me see if I can spot these two pots. That's vertical linearity right there. I'm looking for horizontal. That looks like it's centering. See if I can get down into the pot. Let's see if we can center the picture up. That's better. And I suspect this guy right here is width. No, that's the B plus adjust. Of course, that's focus. And that's linearity. I don't have a good test pattern on here for testing linearity. There should be another, potentially another pot someplace. Let's focus. That's B plus, that's centering. Well, that should be a lot better already. Oops. So we're definitely have a square picture. We're occupying more of the screen, which is nice. Let me you know, I'm not seeing, well, there is some nonlinearity there. So I did muck that up. Let me see if I can bring that back to something a little more reasonable. It's hard seeing down in here to get the screwdriver into the appropriate pot. Try it there. What I'm looking at is the height of the icons as I go from the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen. And it's rectangular there, or square there, and rectangular there. And I'm trying to square these up down here at the bottom. Squish it a little bit more. Of course, I'm sure you can see the video. That's pretty close. It's not perfect, but it's definitely close. That's volume. That's contrast. Well, this is progress. He's as centered as he's going to get. Picture's still pretty square. I'm not going to muck with focus. Is centering still okay. That's probably about as good as it's going to get. I don't think I need to tweak on the focus. The focus looks fine. So anyhow, there's kind of walking through some of the adjustments. It's certainly better than it was. debating whether to actually touch on the focus. I still see some nonlinearity, and I do actually see some focus issues now. Where'd I put the other screwdriver bit? Now, and of course I'm going to be not seeing a lot of difference in the focus. Yeah, I am. Of course, I don't have a non-magnetic bit to get down into that coil there, so I can't really do anything to adjust it. And I think in general, I'm pretty happy with that. Well, that is what it is. We've cleaned him up as best we can. I've still got the knobs soaking. I'll do a bit more cleaning on the case for the monitor. But at this point, I think I'm going to call this video good. I got lucky with this monitor. The case is cleaned up well, which is really nice. It's got a few blemishes, a few scratches, some marks that maybe a magic eraser would remove, but I'm not going to worry about them. And I have a functional SM124 monochrome monitor for my ST, which is nice, and it's in the case style that I prefer. So, you know, can't argue with that. Anyhow, hope you learned something, or at least were entertained. And you just saw the memory issue I have. Ooh, did it completely fail for video? No. Nope, that's entertaining. I think this is probably a poor connection on that cable again that pops up to the expansion memory board. I'm right at a point of maybe putting sockets back in where the DRAMs were and going back to just a 1 meg. Oh look, it's only seeing 1 meg of the 4 meg, so it's not happy. So this is the same issue I had in the 80s or 90s with my ST. Using one of these Marpet boards, I just never got it to be really reliable, which is kind of sad. Anyhow, sorry, I'm putting screwdrivers away in the little case here. Anyhow, I just said it a minute ago, I'll say it again. We'll talk soon. Bye. Also, I've got the case put back together. I got down into all the little nooks and crannies with a toothbrush. Knocked a lot of nastiness off. I've cleaned the knobs up. I took some deoxit to the 3 pots for the contrast, brightness, and audio. We're all plugged in, and assuming my ST here will power up and not have memory issues, let's see what we've got. And I think that's much better. I can tell again that what you're seeing is pretty washed out. Let me bring the brightness way down, see if I can get a better image on the camera. We'll let this run through the memory test here. But you know, it's much better. I've got the screen adjusted up to a better size. The picture is pretty level to the monitor. That bit of tilt we had before is gone. The case is clean. It's not nearly as nasty to touch, which is very nice. It was really nasty before. I'm thinking this has still got the original plastic, and it does from the factory that covered up that decal. That's why that looks so nasty. It had that original protective plastic from when it came from the factory. Oh, that looks much nicer. It's a little beat up, but all the dirt that was trapped behind that little piece of tape is gone. So we have our nice little desktop. Color and style. Gonna make the background white. Options. I prefer full path. Although I don't want to write this back to the floppy. It's the master floppy. I've got some 720K floppies floating around here, although I think this machine, I believe I've got the control on it that'll do 1.4 megabyte floppies if I remember right. I think I put that upgrade in, I don't remember. Well, pretty nice. I do seem to have a functional machine. I should have a couple loose 5 1/4 or 3 1/2 inch floppies floating around here. I know I got a bunch of 720Ks upstairs. As the 720K 3 1/2s have gotten harder to find. New, I've bought up a few new. Just so I've got them set aside. I know a lot of people format, use the 1.44 meg. Cover up the hole and or drill a hole in the 720K to bump it to 1.44. I just don't trust the reliability doing that. Well, floppy. I know there's a floppy floating around here someplace. Sorry, I'm wandering around the room here looking for floppies. Throw in a 1.44. Let's see what we can do with it. No, I want you to close. Format floppy disk. I don't think I clicked that right. No, it looks like this is going to be a 720K format, but I'll go ahead and do what I just said I don't like to do, and that is put a bit of tape over the hole on this floppy to turn it into a quote 720K. I don't think the drive will actually care. Double-sided. And we'll see what we get. Pretty happy with the monitor. Considering where it was about to end up, it has a new lease on life. It's so far seems to be in good working order. I think back to how this was to use back then with desktop publishing and stuff, and how amazing this screen was. And of course, by today's standards, it's actually not all that great. But my Atari certainly got huge amounts of use. And of course, that original machine's long gone. And I've got this one in its place. Let the floppy keep formatting here. Rotate the monitor a bit so you can get a look at it from the side. Nice and clean. Knobs are all clean. They don't feel nasty to the touch. We've got our little chip here and a little bit of broken plastic here and some kind of like something overspray, maybe paint or something. Of course, we picked up little bits of dust on the screen from static attraction. That always happens. Pretty nice. Am I formatting again? Because I didn't read the dialogue before I clicked. Well, anyhow, I'll wrap this video up here. And we'll talk soon.